The time is 3 o'clock on May 22nd, 2026. And this will be the first committee of the Intergovernmental Relations Committee for the 2026-2028 term. And so I want to welcome everyone who's here today. Thank you very much. First and foremost, I want to acknowledge my colleagues, returning member, Supervisor Steve Shea, and then our new members, but not new to this committee, I imagine, Supervisor Willie Johnson Jr., Supervisor Kathy Vincent, and then our newest member on the board, Supervisor Lee Van Roundtree Jr. Really great to have you. And we are this meeting is being held in room 203R at the Milwaukee County Courthouse. We also will be open to hearing people testify on certain items, but they just have to provide a filled out blue public comment card, or they can visit the public comment section on the milwaukee.gov/public comment site, and so they can participate via Milwaukee Teams. And then they also are welcome to submit a written e-comment on the County Legislative Information Center. And I am also just really excited to be able to say that I continue on as chair in this committee, because the work of the Intergovernmental Relations Committee is really important, because it is our ability, both as representatives of the different districts of the county, but the county as a whole, to make sure that the voices of our communities are heard at the different levels of government, because we know that issues don't remain in district lines or district boundaries, but they are, decisions are made on our behalf at the state level, at the city level, at different municipality level, and at the federal level. And so it is our role as supervisors to be able to advocate on behalf of our communities in all of these different spaces. And so my goal with this committee always is to make sure that those voices are being heard, and that we are thoughtfully discussing these issues that really impact all of us. So I'm excited to continue on this term, and with that, we can call roll.
Supervisors Vincent.
Present.
Johnson Jr.
Here.
Shea.
Here.
Roundtree Jr.
Present.
Madam Chairwoman.
Present.
There are 5 members present. We have a quorum.
All right, wonderful. So we're going to start off with items 1 and 2 together.
Item 1, from the Director, Office of Strategy, Budget, and Performance, providing an informational report on the 1,000-year flood recovery efforts and fiscal impacts. This item is informational only unless otherwise directed by the committee.
All right, wonderful.
And item 2, a resolution requesting a proactive flood prevention and preparedness plan that includes intergovernmental coordination and climate resiliency funding for Milwaukee County. This resolution is sponsored by Supervisors Nicholson Bovell, Gomez Tom, Belinsky, Capriolo, Vincent, Rowland, O'Connor, and Logston.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Hello, Director. I just wanted to combine those two just since they kind of go hand in hand. So,
good afternoon, Madam Chair Gomez Tom. Chair, board members, my name is Isaac Rowlett, Strategy Director, Office of Strategy, Budget, and Performance. I'm here today to present an informational report on Milwaukee County's recovery from the August 2025 flooding event and the financial outcome of our federal assistance requests and insurance claims. Breaking news, they didn't go well. That's the headline. But I'm going to provide a little bit more detail. On August 9th and 10th of 2025, Milwaukee County experienced a 1,000-year rainfall event of up to 14.5 inches in less than 24 hours. MMSD reported that more than 5 billion gallons of sewer overflowed. Over 42,000 households registered with FEMA. Emergency responders conducted water rescues, and more than 3,400 properties were assessed for damage. More than half were categorized as destroyed or sustaining damage, major damage, excuse me. Despite a coordinated, well-documented recovery effort by Milwaukee County and our municipal partners, the federal government denied our public assistance request twice, and that decision has real fiscal consequences for the county. So here's what happened in summary. Wisconsin submitted its public assistance claim to FEMA in September of 2025. The preliminary damage estimate was $57 million countywide. FEMA reviewed the submission and validated $29 million in damages, forwarding the request to the Trump administration for authorization. The administration denied it. Wisconsin appealed. The appeal was denied as well. There is no further recourse, and this is a final federal decision. As a result, county and municipal partners are left to absorb approximately $1.4 million in storm-related damages. Milwaukee County alone has already incurred more than $700,000 in flood-related expenditures, that was as of February 2026, with costs still accumulating. On the insurance side, the outcome was similarly limited. Our property insurer Travelers assessed combined losses of approximately $441,000 across multiple county facilities, including McGovern Park Senior Center, King Park Community Center, the Milwaukee Sports Complex, and several golf courses and parks. Because our flood deductible is $750,000, no payment was issued. We received nothing on the property claim. The only insurance recovery was a single auto claim, a Ford Explorer police cruiser that was a total loss. After the $25,000 deductible, the county netted $18,840. So to be clear, about the on-the-ground impact, Milwaukee County Parks sustained damage at 31 sites, totaling $860,000. Colwicky Park alone is estimated at $300,000. McGovern Park Senior Center has been closed for an extended period due to mold remediation. An ongoing study of the root causes of repeated water infiltration. Office of Emergency Management absorbed the emergency radio antenna repairs, $148,000, within its operating budget, deferring preventative maintenance in order to do so. MCDOT delayed scheduled maintenance and suspended non-essential operations in order to cover flood response. This is the compounding nature of what federal denial means in practice for our departments. Means absorbing costs out of operating budgets, deferred maintenance that was already deferred, and adding to a capital backlog that the county has already been struggling to address. Our residents, our departments, and our facilities are left absorbing the consequences. Thank you, and I'm joined by Paul Riegel of the Office of Emergency Management, happy to address any and all questions that the committee may have.
Thank you, Director. Question from committee. Supervisor Shea?
Yes. The Trump administration denied our request for funding. Not being an expert on the history of FEMA funding, was that denial consistent with what has happened in similar events to other cities down through the years, or was this extraordinary, something different?
Chair, supervisors, I'm going to defer to my colleague from the Office of Emergency Management.
Good afternoon. My name is Paul Riegel. I'm with the Office of Emergency Management. I'm the Emergency Management Division Director. I don't want to speak without all the facts in front of me, but it seemed like it was not that far off of what the administration had done in the past couple of years when we looked at events in other states.
So you're just talking about this particular administration, not previous administration?
Correct. It varied from what we were told by the state of Wisconsin, the Wisconsin Emergency Management. It kind of varies by administration on what type of disasters receive what kind of funding. It's unfortunately not a very black and white decision when it goes to the president, so they kind of have the autonomy to make whatever decision they want.
So I see. All right. Well, thank you. I yield.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Vincent, or Vice Chair Vincent.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Thank you for this report. I was just kind of perusing through the list of where all the damage was, and there were the county was covered pretty well with damage if you look at this. The one area I was looking at, because I was just at an event, I have Greenfield in my district, and Colwicky Park has a $300,000 price tag on it. Can you tell what was damaged? Because I was at the fields and everything looked fine. Was it the building, or what was damaged for $300,000?
Yeah, Chair, Supervisors, Isaac Rowlett, Strategy Director, SPP. I don't have that information in front of me, but I can provide that to the committee immediately following.
Okay, I was just kind of surprised because the mayor hadn't mentioned anything to me at that, and we obviously have that public-private partnership there. The area is wonderful now, what they've done with it, so I was just curious as to what the damage was there. I know it's by a wetland area, so I'm sure that was part of the problem. This is really disappointing to kind of dovetail off of Supervisor Shea that, a 1,000-year flood doesn't happen very often, and the fact that our government officials in D.C. are not taking this seriously, I think is sad. I mean, we do pay taxes all the way to the federal level, and when something like this happens, we need these resources. It's going to be on the backs of taxpayers.
All right, any other comments? I'll just mention, we're addressing the August flooding from, last year, and we had, 1,000-year flood, yet, in April, we also had a pretty severe flooding incident as well, and I know that there's been additional damage on some of our spaces and buildings. I think this transitions well to item number 2, which, the chairwoman will speak to, but I think there needs to be some ongoing planning, intentional planning on what we need to do as a county if, other levels of government will not step up to support our communities. So thank you very much.
Should I say one more thing?
Sure. Yes,
I
Vice Chair.
apologize. I happened, that April storm that you talked about, I happened to be driving that night. I was at an event for Supervisor Wasserman that night and got pretty much stranded downtown. And I know this is probably more of a city thing, but it does stretch into the county. Are there thoughts on what's going to happen with that type of flood? Like, the roads were just horrible. I thought I was going to be stuck in like feet deep of water that night. And, I'm just wondering like where that all kind of plays into this as well, because that situation has happened a few times now, and I know the city is addressing it, but do we have any role in that?
Chair, Supervisors, Isaac Rowlett, Strategy Director, Office of Strategy Budget Performance. I have the pleasure of representing Milwaukee County along with colleagues from the Parks Department and on the Flood Mitigation Task Force with MMSD and the City of Milwaukee as well. And that's precisely one of the issues that we're exploring, is how to deal with, I believe it's 46% of the county is covered in impervious surface. And so given both the multi-billion-dollar capital backlog on the county's infrastructure, not just Milwaukee County government, but broader public infrastructure, and the seemingly increasing frequency and severity of flooding events, you raise a critical point, which is how we're going to address. I don't have, it's clearly going to be multifactorial. There's discussions about how to renew wetlands and convert, renaturalize concrete spaces, increase water basins, et cetera. And it's going to require an intergovernmental effort in order to address.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And so then we'll go to item 2 that's already been read into the record, and we'll have Chairwoman Nicholson-Bovell come and speak to her item. Thank you.
Sponsors of this resolution.
Her mic is not on.
Oh, Madam Chair, I think, is your mic on?
There we go.
Yep.
That better? All right. So this resolution comes directly out of the frustration, the exhaustion, the fear many Milwaukee County residents have experienced after repeated flooding disasters over the last year. The governor of Wisconsin, Tony Evers, said today that families have lost their homes, their businesses, and livelihoods, and far too many people are facing uncertainty, loss, and grief. Families are still dealing with flooded basements, destroyed belongings, impassable streets and mounting financial costs, and many residents feel like they're left on their own because they are not sure who to contact, where to go to help. So people want to know, who do I call? What resources are available? What is government doing before the next storm hits and not just after? That is what this resolution is all about. This legislation recognizes that flooding is no longer a once-in-a-generation event. What we are experiencing is part of a growing climate resiliency and infrastructure crisis that requires a more coordinated, proactive, and regional response. People want to hear and see what we are doing, not what we cannot do. And they want to know that we're working together to employ best practices rooted in science. We are fortunate at Milwaukee County to have subject matter experts from parks to transportation who can help in collaboration. We heard from Mr. Rowlett that in the first half of April, Milwaukee received nearly 6 inches of rain, more than 150% of our average rainfall for the month. We are seeing infrastructure push beyond its limits while storms become more frequent and more severe. Wisconsin requests for federal disaster aid was denied, as we are constantly hearing, leaving local governments and taxpayers to shoulder the burden alone. That is not sustainable. We cannot continue operating in a cycle where communities flood, residents suffer, municipalities scramble to respond, and then everyone waits for the next disaster to happen. So this resolution asks the Milwaukee County's Office of Emergency Management to work collaboratively with municipalities, with MMSD, with emergency management professionals, and with regional partners to improve flood preparedness, emergency coordination, and public communication, which I think for me is one of the most important pieces. Because one of the clearest lessons from these recent flooding events is that residents need clearer information, okay, and stronger coordination. During emergencies, people should not have to search across multiple web pages or social media pages, trying to figure out which roads are closed, where to report flooding, how to access resources, or who is responsible for responding. This resolution encourages a more unified and accessible communication strategy, including stronger emergency alerts, coordination with local media, public education, and exploration of centralized information tools that can help residents access real-time updates during emergencies like we do with dashboards. Let's make visible to the public the updates they seek, because emergencies require real-time communication. Importantly, this resolution acknowledges that local governments cannot shoulder this burden alone. If we know these disasters are becoming more frequent, then state and federal investment must be a reality. We cannot continue forcing local taxpayers to absorb the costs of these disasters. So at the end of the day, this resolution is about moving from reaction to preparedness. I thank you so much for our co-sponsors. I invite anyone here who hasn't to co-sponsor as well, and I ask that you move support. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, Madam Chair. We'll go to Supervisor Willie Johnson, Jr.
Thank you, Chairwoman Gomez-Tom. I would like to be added as a co-sponsor for this resolution.
All right. And then Supervisor Shea.
Madam Chair, I too ask unanimous consent to be added as a co-sponsor, and this resolution is extremely important, as we have clearly seen the administration in Washington has its own priorities, whether it be ballrooms or foreign wars, and they're just going to hang us out to dry, so if you'll pardon the expression. So we need proactive flood prevention and preparedness.
Supervisor Vincent.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I want to thank you, Chairwoman Nicholson-Bovell, for bringing this up. We all received these calls over this time, and we were even scrambling to find out where to send people for these services and what have you. So I definitely support it, and I'd like to move approval.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Madam Chairwoman, per your new adopted ordinance change, the lead sponsor would need to state on the record that they would like to add Supervisors Johnson Jr. and Stephen Shea to this resolution for it to be done.
Thank you so much. I do see another supervisor wanting to speak. Can we just make sure that's not another co-sponsorship, and I'll do it all at the same time?
Yep, that's fine. Supervisor Ekblad.
And on cue, Madam Chair, may I please also ask unanimous consent to be added as co-sponsor?
All right, and then Chairwoman,
Thank you so much. So I'll ask unanimous consent to add Supervisors Johnson, Shea, and Ekblad as co-sponsors to the resolution.
Supervisor
I
Roundtree?
thought you were on this one already. You're on
Not
the other
yet.
one. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to ask for unanimous consent to be added as co-sponsor.
All right, Madam Chair.
Going once, going twice. Okay. So I'll ask unanimous consent for Supervisors Johnson, Shea, Ekblad, and Roundtree to be added as co-sponsors.
Fantastic. Any other comments? Seeing none, we'll take it to a roll because there was a motion for. Supervisor Vincent, or Vice Chair Vincent. I have to get used to that.
All right. On the motion by Supervisor Vincent that item number 2 be recommended for adoption, Supervisors Vincent,
Aye.
Johnson Jr.,
Aye.
Shea,
Aye.
Roundtree Jr.,
Aye.
Madam Chairwoman.
Aye.
5 ayes, 0 noes, the motion prevails.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. All right, we will go into items 3, 9, and 10. They're also all related, so we want to read those in together.
Item 3, a resolution by Supervisors Nicholson Bovell, Roundtree Jr., Martin, Gomez, Tom, O'Connor, Rolland, Wasserman, and Capriolo establishing the Milwaukee City-County Joint Task Force to address the food access crisis in Milwaukee County. Item 9, a report from the Executive Director, Department of Health and Human Services related to emergency supplemental food assistance funding. This item is informational only unless otherwise directed by the committee. And item 10, a report from the Executive Director, Department of Health and Human Services, DHHS, the Chief Equity Officer, Office of Equity, and the Director, Economic Development, providing recommendations for addressing food insecurity and apartheid in Milwaukee County. This item is informational only unless otherwise directed by the committee.
All right, thank you, Mr. Coordinator. All right, hello. And yes, we're going to have the reports go first, and then we'll get to the resolution. So, thank you.
Great. Good afternoon, Chair and Supervisors. My name is Emily Kenny. I am the Director of Strategic Initiatives and Transformation with DHHS, the Department of Health and Human Services. So I'll report first on the funding that was allocated at the end of last year around addressing the emergency food need and what the results of that were. And then I'll pass it to my colleague around the kind of the proposed solutions. So last year in November, there was an emergency allocation of $150,000 in order to address the emergency food need at that time. That funding went out to 13 different nonprofits, food pantries and 2 food banks, to distribute food and have food-related events, getting people together to make sure that they could get their food needs met. All told, 201,691 pounds of food were distributed to food pantries with this funding. 5,887 households were served in December and January. Of those households, 20% had children, and 15% had at least one household member over 60. An estimated 25% of households had a member with a disabling condition. Not every agency captured veteran status, but at least 245 people were veterans that were served by this funding. In addition, the Parks Community Centers hosted holiday meals. DHHS hosted a food giveaway that included recipes for the foods that were in the bags. Metcalf Park Community Bridges hosted 3 giveaways and 2 Community Joy cooking sessions. Dream Team United hosted 4 food giveaways and a holiday dinner. And St. Vincent de Paul hosted walking lunch giveaways and used dollars to support meals at the winter warming sites. So we did a lot of good, tangible work with that $150,000. I will say the other thing that came out of this is that we're still meeting. So we started meeting every other week just to be able to get organized and work really quickly and efficiently together. And the group said, let's not stop this collaboration. Let's keep talking and seeing how we can work more strongly together. So right now, one of the things that we're working on is figuring out how we can bring food pantries and volunteer opportunities together to help people meet those volunteer requirements for their food share benefits. There are additional requirements for some people on food share to meet about 20 hours a week of volunteer or work or school. And so we're working together to make sure that we can be a part of that solution and get information and opportunities to community members around that. So I think that this was really a springboard into some great collaboration, and we have some additional recommendations that my colleague Samaya, is Samaya here? Oh, there she is, will discuss.
Thank you very much. Director Clerk? Yeah, Mr. Coordinator, does the plug down there work? Understandable.
My apologies, Madam Chair. For just point of information, would now be the right time to ask to be added as a co-sponsor to item 3, or should we wait until all are read?
We'll wait till that is presented on.
Oh, thank you.
Yep, thank you, Supervisor.
Oh, good afternoon, Chair Gomez-Tom and Vice Chair Vincent, as well as the other supervisors on the committee. My name is Sumaya Clark, and I'm the Executive Director of the Office of Equity. I also serve as Milwaukee County's Chief Equity Officer. Today, I'll be sharing an informational report from the Office of Equity, Department of Health and Human Services, as well as the Department of Administrative Services, Economic Development. We're working collaboratively to address food insecurity and food apartheid here in Milwaukee. This report is in response to the County Board request as stated in the November 2025 resolution, file number 25705, authored by Madam Chair Marcilia Nicholson-Boval, as well as Supervisor Ann O'Connor. The resolution provided 3 directives to DHHS and the Office of Equity. The first, to incorporate measures of food apartheid and related disparities in the county's racial equity budget tool. The second, to collaborate with state, municipal, and community partners to identify strategies to address food apartheid in Milwaukee County, starting with Metcalf Park. And lastly, to recommend options for addressing food apartheid in Milwaukee County. And we're really going to break this presentation today into 4 main parts. The first will be on background information. We'll talk a little bit about the prevalence and current impacts. We'll also talk about existing community efforts, as well as proposed strategies. So if I start with background, when communities lack access to healthy food, we often see broader patterns such as higher healthcare costs, fewer local businesses, lower property investment, and barriers to economic mobility. Addressing food insecurity can strengthen health as well as overall economic vitality. Food insecurity is defined as the inability to reliably access affordable, nutritious food. And in a few moments, I'll actually share with you some maps where we actually highlight neighborhoods that have more than 40% of residents who are indicating that they experience some sort of food insecurity. Food apartheid is more than just a lack of grocery stores. It refers to the long-term results of policies and systems that have historically excluded certain neighborhoods from investment and opportunity. So it's not about individual choices or theft. It's about the conditions and systems that shape what choices are available. And SNAP Food Share supports grocery and farmers market purchases through EBT, And Milwaukee County benefits are administered by the state of Wisconsin's Enrollment Services, which is the MILES unit, which, as many of you may be familiar, they have a new office that's just right off of 64th and Florist. But regardless of the terminology that's used, the underlying issue is that some neighborhoods had faced generations of underinvestment that continue to affect access to healthy food today. And understanding the patterns, and we're going to try to give you a snapshot of some of those today, will actually help us build more effective and sustainable solutions moving forward. So as we think about the current state, federal SNAP changes will actually increase hunger. The proposed federal SNAP cuts under the One Big Beautiful Bill Act could reduce benefits by an estimate of 20%. These reductions are expected to increase food insecurity and place greater pressure on local pantries and community resources. I'd also like to point out that Food Share supports hundreds of thousands of Wisconsinites. About 233,000 people, which is almost a fourth of our population in Milwaukee County. And roughly 680,000 people statewide rely on Food Share to help buy groceries. Food Share is critical support for working families, seniors, children, and people with disabilities. Now, as we think about SNAP Ed funding, the loss reduces nutrition support. SNAP Ed funding ended December 31st, 2025, which eliminated longstanding nutrition education funding. And organizations like Hunger Task Force or FoodWise help families stretch their food budgets and build healthy habits, and they do that through a series of partnerships. And then the last point that we have that we wanted to call to your attention is that the multiple grocery store closures, are worsening food access. So when you think about grocery store closures in many neighborhoods, they're making it harder for residents across Milwaukee County to access affordable, healthy food. On top of that, when you pair that with limited transportation and fewer nearby stores are intensifying food insecurity in spaces that are already vulnerable. These closures are not due to theft, which is sometimes assumed. Instead, the closures come from a variety of challenges in the overall food economy, such as the inability for small grocers to buy food at volume, which would allow them to sell it at an affordable cost. It also is related to increased reliance of big grocers like Walmart on e-commerce. When you think about Walmart right now, they're right up there with Amazon in terms of their prioritization around e-commerce, which means that there's less access in communities. And then another consideration is that increased costs of retaining employees who need competitive, livable wages when I might be able to drive, for a rideshare company and make more than I could at a grocery store. So as we look at, this is one of two maps that we're going to share with you today. And again, if there's more information that you'd like, we have a host. We have a lot of data. So for the folks who really like data, please, feel free to reach out and we could share more information. But some of the things that we wanted to point out is that since 2023, there's a total of 12 grocery stores that closed. 4 of them were clustered near a 6-mile stretch of Silver Springs. And then 3 of the 4 grocery closures occurred within the last few months, and the remaining closures were spread across Milwaukee County. Now, this map was developed by data you can use for the Food Council, but we wanted to include it because it helps to visualize where food insecurity is most concentrated across Milwaukee County. The darkest green areas represent neighborhoods where more than 40% of residents report experiencing food insecurity. One area highlighted with the red star in the center is Metcalf Park, where residents have limited access to affordable, healthy food because there are no full-service grocery stores within several miles. This means that many families may need to travel significant distances, often without reliable transportation, just to purchase fresh produce, meat, or other healthy staples. The map helps us understand that food access is not evenly distributed across our our county, and that geography, investment, excuse me one moment, and investment patterns, as well as infrastructure, all play a role in shaping health outcomes. By the way, that's one of the reasons that we felt that it was important to add economic development to this, because while Health and Human Services and the Office of Equity have been doing research, we've been looking at policies, we have to look at the overall infrastructure and the way we're investing in communities, which is an asset that economic development was able to offer to this initiative. So now I want to go into some of the key community efforts. Now, while this is not a comprehensive list of all food access efforts taking place across Milwaukee County, the following are examples which help us illustrate the range of community-driven strategies that are currently being implemented to increase access to healthy food and support residents who are experiencing food insecurity. I want to first by pointing out Metcalf Community Bridges, and I believe we actually have several community members from that organization who are here today, so I'd like to just take a moment to honor their service and their commitment to making sure that their neighbors have what they need to be healthy. I also want to highlight that DAS Economic Development, who also recently, they recently presented an MPCB application to the Milwaukee County Board of Supervisors seeking a $250,000 community development investment grant from the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation. Now, the board unanimously approved this resolution in support of the project, which was actually approved by WEDC. And funding will be used for Metcalf Park's Liberation Hub project, which includes adding a food pantry and a commercial kitchen as part of a larger community and social hub project. You also see information about Sherman Park Grocery Store, which is Milwaukee County's only full-service Black-owned grocery store, the Hunger Task Force Mobile Market, which several times a month, goes around to different community neighborhoods in partnership with Piggly Wiggly, with some grants to be able to offer groceries at a 25% discount to residents. And then the other example that we have here is Milwaukee Match, which I'll actually share some information about on the next slide. So Milwaukee Match strengthens food security by matching the value of food share or SNAP benefits spent at local farmers markets. And Milwaukee County funded it with nearly $1 million in ARPA dollars. And the county board and county executive included $150,000 to continue the program in 2026. And as you can see from the graph, that the usage of Milwaukee Match has increased by 143% since 2021, which is demonstrative of increased community awareness as well as growing need. As we think about practices in other communities, so when we're launching initiatives, we oftentimes in Milwaukee County will start by talking with some of our other jurisdictions as well as local community partners, and that's what we did with this initiative as well. And so to develop the recommendations, DHHS, the Office of Equity and Economic Development, worked collaboratively to conduct research as well as engage state, municipal, and community partners to identify strategies that address food apartheid and improve food access. The process also included reviewing local and national reports as well as learning directly from jurisdictions across the United States who have implemented promising approaches to address food insecurity. And two of those examples are listed here on the screen. The first is in Philadelphia. The Food Trust was able to develop a healthy food financing handbook, which addressed the challenges of underserved communities in accessing healthy and affordable groceries. And then one of our Midwest neighbors, Detroit, their Food Policy Council offers technical assistance on innovative food system programs, which are designed to increase the capacity of grocers. And I want to note that we spoke to over 50 partnering organizations, not people, organizations, and also institutions. That included academics, that included the City of Milwaukee Health Department, the Mayor's Office, their economic development area at the city. We've spoke with several areas at the state, UW-Madison, UW Extension, Metcalf Community Bridges, our partners who are here, as well as a host of other alders, state representatives, and so on and so forth. And what I want to call out is that when we were looking to present recommendations to you all today, we held a value to center the voice of community rather than imposing government priorities on community. So we actually started with what community wanted to see, and we tried to make sure that the recommendations that we'll present to you today actually supported their voice. So the last item that was included in the resolution was to make a modification to the racial equity budgeting tool. Now, the racial equity budgeting tool is actually a guide that provides 10 questions for Milwaukee County leaders to answer as they prepare their annual budgets. And the tool was created to ensure that county leaders have a tool or a resource which helps them to prioritize their funds according to data and community need. And the REBT is a mandatory component of Milwaukee County's annual budgeting process. And so in order to respond to the resolution, we were able to modify question number 10 to ensure that the focus was broadened to not only speak to multilingual needs and addressing accessibility barriers for people who have disabilities, but we were able to add food apartheid and financial empowerment. And so the original question stated, what is your department doing to dismantle barriers to diverse and inclusive communities, including meeting multilingual needs and other communication or accessibility barriers? And that updated question now states, what is your department doing to dismantle barriers to diverse and inclusive communities, including meeting multilingual needs, accessibility barriers, food apartheid, financial empowerment, or other factors that impact the stability and well-being of people in Milwaukee County. And we felt that that was important to ensure that we're able to meet our mission, which is to make sure that we're able to help people improve their quality of life. And Milwaukee County leaders have already received the updated REBT, which will be utilized in the 2027 budgeting process. And these changes were also shared in the budget kickoff meeting for department leaders, which was held in April of this year. And then the Office of Equity also offers technical assistance to departments to help them complete their REBT effectively. So now we get to the good stuff. The strategies and the recommendations. So here are the 9 proposed strategies or recommendations. The first is to establish a community-led effort to address food access. And essentially this would be a group which included community partners already working on food access, DHHS, the Office of Equity, Economic Development, coalitions, associations, foundations, and other local and municipal stakeholders to align efforts, share data, and produce a work plan to end food apartheid. And it's important that this effort be led by community members to ensure that there's ongoing grassroots engagement for all steps of the process, whether it be data, whether it be reviewing recommendations, and then also evaluating implemented strategies. And so, as Emily, Director Kenny shared with you earlier, there has been some convening of community partners as well. And then we've also been partnering with folks from the City of Milwaukee. We've been reaching out to partners from the philanthropic community as well as different community entities as well. The second recommendation is to review Hunger Task Force mobile market stops. This is such an important resource, and we want to make sure that when the Hunger Task Force is bringing that market to community, that it's at a time and a location that's going to be most accessible for community members. And they are really good partners, so we've already had some conversations with them about that and to review their existing stops. The third a recommendation here is for to have a community-managed power fridges, free sources of food with 24/7 access. And so being able to explore the use of community fridges stocked with surplus food that would otherwise be thrown away as an option for high-need locations. The fourth is to pursue foundation, state, and federal grants. And so grant development at the county level as well as the state level, so partnering with them to sustainably fund market match and then potentially expand the mobile market as well as being able to fund additional initiatives. And again, we do know of several local foundations who are committed to addressing the food apartheid issue that we'll continue to work with. The next is Healthy Food Financing Initiative. And with that, we would like to work with the City of Milwaukee to explore establishing Fresh Food Access Fund and pursue public-private seed funding. So the City of Milwaukee does have two pots of funding currently, and we will continue to have conversations with the City of Milwaukee, again, to ensure that we're able to influence all of the accessible funding across Milwaukee County. Healthy Corner Store Initiative, which is to support corner stores to stock fresh produce through incentives and technical assistance. This is so important for a lot of reasons. For one, healthy corner stores, yes, have the option to have more food, but through some other work that we've been looking at the county around economic mobility, there's also so many opportunities with financial education and other supports for residents. So just being able to really leverage the accessibility of those to be able to provide a variety of resources. Number 7, support urban agriculture and farm connections. So expand urban farming and distribution to local markets and institutions. As I talked about, we've met with a lot of folks. Some of those were farmers who are actually planting in the ground, and also people who do hydroponics. So we're really looking at diversifying the types of farms that we're connecting with to be able to, again, increase access to food. And then number 8, building the Building Bridge Small Business Initiative. So we want to be able to leverage that program to be able to grow food-related entrepreneurship within impacted communities and seek ways to add food access with existing businesses. And then the zoning and grocery closure notification. And so part of the challenge when a lot of the grocery stores closed is that sometimes we found out in the newspaper or maybe a day before. And so we want to make sure that we would be able to advocate in partnership with other municipal leaders to be able to have some sort of standardized ordinances across municipalities within Milwaukee County to regulate grocery closure notification process and outreach. So an example of this, with the City of Milwaukee, there were some alders that looked to put forward an ordinance that said that there needs to be maybe a 60-day heads up when there's going to be a grocery store closure. So again, these are things that we're looking to have ongoing conversations about and have uniformity across the municipalities. So in closing, I'd like to thank you all for allowing us to present today. We want to emphasize that addressing food insecurity and food apartheid requires a collaborative, community-centered approach, and no single department, organization, or sector can solve these challenges alone. Sustainable progress depends on continuing to engage and partnering with many stakeholders who are deeply committed to improving food access and health outcomes across Milwaukee County. And we would like to sincerely thank the wide wide range of partners who have contributed their expertise, experiences, and perspectives throughout this process, including state and municipal agencies, community-based organizations, local food leaders, academics and researchers, economic development professionals, health and human services leaders, and jurisdictions across the country who shared promising practices and lesson learned. And so I'd like to close the presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chief Equity Officer Clark. And then I'll ask Chairwoman Nicholson Bovell to come and speak to your item. And then we'll have supervisors ask questions after.
Hello again, Chair Gomez-Tom, committee members. I'm Milwaukee County Board Chairwoman Marcelia Nicholson Bovell. I first want to start by thanking our Department of Health and Human Services, Administrative Services, and our Office of Equity for what they've done so far, and at the direction of the County Board, administering those funds, digging deep into this issue, engaging stakeholders, and identifying long-term solutions to the growing food access crisis here in Milwaukee County. This resolution is about something basic. It's whether families in Milwaukee County can have access to fresh, affordable foods, and whether those who are directly impacted have a voice at the table. Right now, we're watching entire communities lose access to full-service grocery stores in real time. Just 2 weeks ago, we learned about a Walgreens leaving near the Metcalf Park and Midtown communities. And that's just a long list of grocery stores, as you learn, that are leaving the community with no notice, leaving their neighborhoods to rely on convenience stores and gas stations to feed their children. Food apartheid did not happen by accident. Last year, this board took a groundbreaking step by becoming the first jurisdiction in Wisconsin and probably the nation to declare food apartheid a public health emergency. That action mattered because this board is not just symbolic. We are the legislative body charged with bringing voices to our neighbors' concerns and helping create long-term policy solutions. This resolution is the next step in that work. Our departments should serve as the backbone of this effort. Our community members and subject matters should be the eyes and the mind that helps guide our vision. And as elected officials, we should be the feet and the fists moving policy forward and making sure action actually happens. As legislators, we directed this work because we recognize the need for a formal structure, a reporting mechanism, and a vehicle for accountability and transparency moving forward. This task force is intentionally collaborative. It brings together the city and county, community leaders, youth voices, labor, researchers, health professionals, small business owners, and food justice advocates because no single institution can solve this crisis alone. I also appreciate the support and partnership we've already seen from members of the Milwaukee Common Council and community stakeholders who recognize the urgency of this issue. This task force will help us move beyond conversations and toward measurable solutions, including some of what you heard, neighborhood-based grocery support, the policy recommendations that we as policymakers can implement, continuous mapping of food access vulnerabilities. As you see, these stores are still closing, and then effective implementation of strategies that have worked successfully in communities across the country, like in Baltimore and Detroit. Today, you'll hear directly from community members being led by the amazing Metcalf Park Bridges organization, which we've done a lot of work with already. You'll also hear from some organizers and advocates who've already been leading this work on the ground long before any of us formally stepped into this conversation. I want us to remember that communities have already been carrying this work on their back for years. Government's role is not to replace community leadership. It is to support it, to align the resources, to remove barriers, and to help build systems that help sustain this work long term, not just when this is the popular thing to be working on. So this resolution is also about breaking down silos between local governments. You'll notice some sort of ad hoc things that we're doing, the Common Council is doing, maybe other local jurisdictions are doing. So this is about putting us all at the table and making sure that we're not replicating, that we're instead working together. We also don't want to replace any infrastructure. The organizing infrastructure is there. You heard about very many organizations who are doing this work on the ground. This is not meant to replace their work, but to strengthen it, align it, and embed it in what we're doing as a government body. We know grocery stores are more than places to buy food. They are anchor institutions. They are lifelines. When a grocery store closes, a neighborhood loses jobs, investment, stability, and access to healthy living all at once. Good food nourishes. And at the end of the day, access to healthy food should not depend on your zip code. A child's life expectancy should not change because of the neighborhood that they grew up in. So this resolution will build lasting systems. It will help strengthen public trust and make sure food is on the kitchen table in every neighborhood in Milwaukee County. So again, thank you to the co-sponsors of this resolution, and I invite those to co-sponsor as well. And I'll remember, Mr. Coordinator, to move for that as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Vice Chair Vincent.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, for this very important resolution. As somebody who works with our youth and sees on a daily basis how food insecurities do impact our youngest, right, our children, I think it's really important. And not all people understand or, understand the depth of what these food insecurities do for communities. First of all, I would like to ask for unanimous consent to be added as a co-sponsor. And as we're talking about this today, the task force, where in this will our schools be too? I think back to our COVID time when the schools were the hub of food services for our children and families in the community. And I would like to see our schools maybe play a role in this as someone not only that teaches in a school, but also serves on a school board. I think it's really important. I mean, our children can't fend for themselves. They have to have the support. And I think a part of this task force would be helpful if our schools were involved, and not just in the city of Milwaukee, but throughout the county. We have all of these school districts across the county that, I think this is, this is a public crisis that we're dealing with, and our schools tend to be a place where we educate and help make sure our students have their best foot forward. So that would be my thought on it. I know we talked about all these other, I will say the Hunger Task Force, I did organize a group of our county supervisors and youth commissioners this year. They have been outstanding partners. And the opportunity to go serve there and see the magnitude of what is actually transpiring from the work there, and a lot of volunteers. I think our whole community should be involved in this price. We pay a price if we don't have something in place like this. So I want to thank you and commend you for this idea of putting this task force together. I would be very interested in even serving on the task force, but I know you will figure that out down the road. But I do want to thank you, and not to put more on our schools, but like even today, my students had a half a day of school. We fed them before they went home. We're not just going to send them off to not have food, and they ate at like 10 o'clock this morning it was. But it's very important, right? We just take for granted. And I do see the impact when our youth do not have adequate food. It is a problem. So thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Johnson, Jr.
Thank you, Chairwoman Gomez-Tom. First of all, I ask unanimous consent to be added as a co-sponsor to item number 3, file 26-453. And I move to approve the resolution.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Shea.
I want to follow up on Supervisor Vincent's words. I too am an educator, and most of the last 30 years I have been teaching in community-based organizations, including Metcalf Park. And some of those schools also doubled as food pantries. And I noticed very early on that attendance in my class was higher on the days that the food pantries were open, because not only could they get food, they could also get an education. So, it was a 2-for-1 thing for my students. People who know nothing about these food pantries think, well, they're giving out donuts and frozen pizzas. No, it's nothing like that. It's fruits, vegetables, staples, things that every household needs. And, these are vital for our communities. And I couldn't help but notice in the presentation that funding was cut for nutrition for SNAP. I mean, you wonder if this administration can get any meaner. Well, they do. So I, too, ask unanimous consent to be added as a co-sponsor. Thank you.
All right. Now that we've heard from committee members, I will, or did you? Okay, thank you. And then we'll go to supervisors that are online. I see first Supervisor Rowland.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am parked, just so you know, but heading out of town for the holiday, but wanted to commend the chairwoman for putting this together and all the folks who have been working on this. This is great work. I'm a co-sponsor already. The only question I've got on the item, it's twofold, I guess, is to the extent that we will seek to engage grocery store folks who aren't in that definition of community-led, the typical more like national grocery store chains. And the reason I ask is a friend of mine is randomly part of a national grocery store chain who has stores in the Milwaukee area, and I've reached out to her right away when this issue kind of began to say, what are the issues that grocery stores are facing, and what would be helpful to help some of these grocery stores to retain, maybe even grow. And she passed along a couple ideas, and I just wonder, is the way this is written and the way that the recommendations came out, I didn't, and maybe I just missed it, but I didn't feel like those national chains felt like part of the solution. And I don't know if that was intentional or not. Like, are we only saying we're going to try to help small, local, community-based organizations, or do we see the national chains as also part of the answer?
Thank you, Supervisor Rowland. Great question. I'm sure your friend is a wonderful person, and I don't have anything against national grocery stores, but I think we have to be honest and state that the national grocery stores have been part of the problem, and we can't keep doing things the same way. I think national grocers have access to lobbyists, they have access to funds to be able to come in when they're able to. They can build buildings, they can access, empty buildings, and they don't have any barriers to entering neighborhoods. But they're leaving without notice. And so what we're trying to do is look more towards a community model so that we can implement more community-led grocers to help build out our local economy, and to also ensure that with the support and resources we can give them, that they can maintain and sustain our neighborhoods. We don't want to solely rely on national grocery chains because, again, this hasn't been part of the issue. So I won't say they are eliminated from the conversation, but I don't want us to keep doing what we've been doing all along, because that's been part of the challenge that we're having right now.
Okay. I mean, that's helpful, and I understand that. I do wonder if having a voice at the table or voices at the table would be helpful. Again, right, a lot of the issue is having some of these national chains pull out. So in theory, one way to get to the solution could be helping these grocery store chains stay here. I totally agree with creating more of an ecosystem where we have community-led grocery stores too. Maybe we can just talk more offline. I do think it could be a miss if we don't involve those voices, and bring them to the table too. But maybe we could chat afterwards.
I'd be happy to, Supervisor.
All right, and then Supervisor Ekblad.
thank you for your patience, Chair and members of the committee, as I struggle with teams. I want to applaud the work of my colleagues. I want to thank the Chairwoman for bringing this forward, and I'd like to ask unanimous consent to be added as a co-sponsor.
All right. I think those are all the requests for unanimous consent, if you wanted to.
All right, so Mr. Coordinator, I asked, or Madam Chair, I'd asked unanimous consent to add Supervisors Vincent, Johnson, Shea, and Ekblad as co-sponsors to this resolution.
Wonderful. And then just before we get public comment on the item, I just wanted to also state a thank you, Chairwoman, for bringing this forward. I think another component to consider as we're moving this forward is, and I think Director Kenny from DHHS mentioned the changes regarding food share policy. And one item that wasn't specifically mentioned but is super crucial, and when we were looking at the maps of where there's a lot of disparity, our immigrant communities are really being threatened right now in so many different ways, and that includes public benefit related policies, including food share and Medicaid. And as early as June, people will be losing their benefits to food share completely because they're of refugee status, asylee status, a large number of statuses that no longer will qualify for food share. And then as of September going into October, those folks will also no longer qualify for Medicaid and for tax credits in the health insurance marketplace. So we're talking about people not having access to health care, health insurance, and then food. And that means, along with our food pantries, our whole safety net program is really going to be dealing with a lot of increased capacity. So I think thinking at that level too with federal policy changes is going to be super important.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you.
Supervisor O'Connor.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chairwoman. And thank you, Chair Nicholson-Babel, for working on this. And I see a lot of the community members in the room who are going to say this better than I ever can. But I just wanted to point out the frequent mention of economic development and how incredibly important that piece is. This problem has been decades, if not centuries, in the making because it comes from the economic disparities in our region. One of the examples I give when I'm talking about this anecdotally with folks is that Metcalf Park is one of the examples where there have been closures of grocery stores and pharmacies, whereas in the district that I represent, we're getting a brand new giant grocery store on the North Shore, and that is the subject not only of much hype and discussion on social media, but also from our official village publications that really have centered on this development. So as in so many ways in Milwaukee County, it is a tale of two cities. So I'm really glad to see this being addressed, and I see a lot of great community members in the room. So like I said, they will say it better than I ever could. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much, Supervisor, and thank you, Chairwoman. We will go to public comment. I would like to ask Melody McCurtis to come up. And since you requested items 3, 9, and 10, since they're all called, just speaking to all those items at once, that'd be great.
I just want to thank all the community members that's here, all of the folks on the phone, and all the Food Justice Collective members that's here that have emailed folks all day around all three of these items. One of the things that I want to make mention of is that We live in one of the most segregated counties in the country, not just in where people live, but how resources, opportunities, investments, and decision-making are distributed. Too often, these systems remain siloed and separated as well. So what this task force seeks to do is to disrupt that norm by creating a centralized body that brings together city, county leadership, academia, subject matter experts, and most importantly, community members directly impacted by food apartheid. This ensures that communities of color, especially neighborhoods like Metcalf Park and the Northwest Side, which we saw earlier in the map, are getting hit left and right by closures and being left with stores that aren't even selling food that is not expired, right? It makes sure that we're at the table and not on the menu. Because if we're not at the table, we're going to keep making the same mistakes that we've been making for decades, and decades. We're going to miss opportunities to create something innovative and sustainable when we're thinking about creating a new food ecosystem. We also live in a state where we have all of this farmland, all of these farmers that's also getting hit by this administration and SNAP cuts, right? When I think about supporting national change, I'm like, why aren't we supporting the farmers and the growers that's in this state? Why is it not a quick pass-through of getting food from the farms onto the table, not just through pantries, right, but also through entrepreneurship, through economic development? When these national chains leave, most of the time they're renting these spaces in our community. They leave with no notice and then they hold a lease. In our case, Pick and Save has a lease until 2027. So now we're left with an empty building where nobody can go and do economic development or do a community-owned grocery store, at least for that timeline. So the task force is essential so that this city, this county actually learns how to be led by community and not just make plans to and for communities. And then in 6 months, we say, oh, why didn't this work? It didn't work because the community wasn't there at the front, the middle, and the end. A lot of the recommendations that was brought forth are great starting points. They are not all the recommendations that I've been hearing for the last 10 months. A lot of the things that's coming to light is that folks want community control. They want community-owned grocery stores, market spaces. They want to support urban planners. They want to see more of that in this city. They want to use this time as an opportunity because, like you said, folks are getting cut off from health, from food, from medicine, all of these things all at once. And before things get even worse, we need to strengthen the infrastructure that we are not tapping into. We have not been tapping into it, and now it's the time to tap into it. We also know that folks are working in their own back office at the city, at the county, and in the community, and we need to bridge that gap and bring it all together. So then I'll yield there.
Thank you so much, Ms. McCurtis. All right, may I ask for Representative Margaret Arney to come up?
Hello. Am I speaking correctly into the mic? Okay, great. I am Margaret Arney, the Assembly 18th District Representative, and Metcalf Park lies at the eastern edge of my district. And one of our, Ann O'Connell mentioned a tale of two cities. I live not too far from a stretch on State Street that has an Outpost, Metcalf grocery store, and a big Metro Mart that received from Kroger at the same time they were closing the other stores, a big investment. And in talking to the Kroger representatives, and also I had the opportunity to talk to representatives from Walgreens, we need to just understand that they're not coming back to Metcalf Park. It's not happening. They're investing where they are. They're investing where they think their customers are going to be, and they're actually paying good money. They're paying out their leases on rented space in the neighborhoods that they have ceased retail operations in. Now let that sink in. We're not going back. We're also in a moment where we need to clearly understand that we need to be big thinkers. The best way forward, the safest way forward, is going to be the most bold and daring way. Because this is not an incremental crisis. This is an existential crisis. So we've got to break down our mindsets that have us understanding what we have understood about a robust commercial food system and a robust emergency food system. The commercial food system as we know it has collapsed entirely in central Milwaukee. And there is no accident. Apartheid is the right word to use. If you overlay the 1936 redlining map of where community investment did and did not happen in Milwaukee, the overlay is exact to our 2026 food desert. This is not an incremental issue. This is an existential issue. Food and pharmacy are fundamental to life. We need access to food and to medicine. The vision for Milwaukee growing requires neighborhoods where people want to live. We are looking at neighborhoods where people can barely survive. We have to start talking in these terms. This is so serious. We cannot be doing anything that just supports what we have been doing. We have to think very differently. And I have to say, I have so much hope from my experiences with the Metcalf Park Community Bridges Food Justice Collective. Their thinking is some of the best thinking that is happening about what are we going to do. And it's because necessity is the mother of invention, and the community voice is not a side dish. It needs to be the main course. Okay? The community voice is the answer for where the investments need to be. We have a tendency, and I speak of this as somebody who's been on every side of the table, to want to support the things that we're used to having, the things that we've supported in the past that are probably, might be running out of money, whatever. We want to think in terms of programs that already exist. No, let's not. Let's be braver than that. Let's think bigger than that. Let's lead, okay? Because programs are not going to help us in an existential crisis. Programs are incremental, okay? I want us to take a moment as leaders, as a state leader, I'm talking to county leaders, as city leaders. This is an extraordinary moment of opportunity for building something new. When we talk about building an ecosystem, this is not just about food and pharmacy. This is about the vision of Milwaukee as a place where people want to move to. What kind of neighborhood do you want to move to? You want to move to a neighborhood that has amenities. You want to move to a neighborhood that is also attracting other families. You want to move to a neighborhood where things are walkable. You want to move to a neighborhood where there's multiple opportunities to get not just the things you need, but the things that you want. I point to, I'm going to say it wrong, Becker Street in West Allis. I had the opportunity to see, it must have been 6 food-related businesses that are all sharing supply. They're all sharing, they're buying together. I bought chicken for $4 a pound. I was like, I have not seen chicken like at this price. It's because they work with their supplier together. creatively to get the kind of sourcing that they need, that they know that their community wants. I'm like, oh, okay, so here's an example. How can we use this example? How can we tap into the wisdom of these entrepreneurs who have put everything on the line? If you've ever met Mo from Sherman Park Grocery Store, everything is on the line for that grocery store. There are people here, so we need to not think how we usually think, because this is not business as usual.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, Natea Taylor, I hope I said that correctly. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Natea Taylor, and I am a community member. I am a resident of District 5. I am also a member of the Food Justice Collective, and also a lifelong resident of the Silver Spring neighborhood. So when Director Clark gave the presentation earlier and we saw a lot of the grocery store closures on the Northwest side, being a lifelong resident over there, I saw when the Walmart closed 3 years ago and how that impacted my community, and how other grocery stores such as the Century that closed recently but then reopened under a new name also impacted our community. And our community has not been involved in any of those conversations in regards to our grocery store closures. So I think that this city-county task force is really important because we need community at the table, as Melody recently said when she was up here as well, because community has not had that input. And we know that food apartheid is a lot of things. It's not just giving people access to a grocery store or having a corner store in a neighborhood. Having food access means that the food is affordable, that the store is clean, that people have dignified grocery shopping experiences. When I shopped at grocery stores in my neighborhood, I was criminalized. That should not happen. So food apartheid and addressing food apartheid is more than just addressing having grocery stores in a neighborhood, and that's why we need to consult with community with that. And then lastly, also being privy to information, also just being an employee of the City of Milwaukee Health Department, I know how the intergovernmental relations work, and I would like to see more accountability from our government in regards to involving community members in the process. So thank you. Thank you so much. All right, seeing no more comments, and I think we might have had one online, but I didn't see them on there. We will go to the vote.
On the motion by Supervisor Johnson Jr. that item number 3 be recommended for adoption, Supervisors Vincent?
Aye.
Johnson Jr.?
Aye.
Shea?
Aye.
Roundtree Jr.?
Aye.
Madam Chairwoman?
Aye.
5 ayes, 0 noes, the motion prevails.
Yes, Supervisor?
Chairwoman Gomez, time to recognize the efforts of Director McKinney and Chief Equity Officer Clark. I would like to I would like to move to receive and place on file items 9 and 10 so that the public can see what was spoken to today regarding the conversations and presentations that have happened today.
Thank you, Supervisor. I will take those both to a vote as well.
On the motion by Supervisor Johnson Jr. that items 9 and 10 be recommended to be received and placed on file, Supervisors Vincent?
Aye.
Johnson Jr.?
Aye.
Shea?
Aye.
Roundtree Jr.?
Aye.
Madam Chairwoman?
Aye.
5 ayes, 0 noes, the motion prevails.
All right, thank you, everyone. We'll go to item number 4, please.
Item 4, a resolution by Supervisors Gomez, Tom, Belinsky, O'Connor, Martinez, Rowland, and Martin condemning the detention of Salah Sarsour, demanding his immediate release from federal custody, and calling for the protection of his constitutional due process rights.
All right, and I'll have Supervisor Ann O'Connor, if you're able to come off mute.
Thank you, Chairwoman. So this is a resolution that is concerning one of the members of our community who has recently been detained by ICE. And I am not going to read the entirety of the resolution, but there are some points that I would really like to highlight and why I decided to sign on as a co-sponsor because these particular points really resonated with me. So Mr. Sarsour has maintained status as a lawful permanent resident of the United States since 1993. That status affords significant constitutional protections, including First Amendment rights to free speech and free association, and Fifth Amendment guarantees of equal protection and due process. So for me and many others in the community, this is a matter of due process, which I do not believe he has received. And so I think it's very important that we support this resolution and go on record as supporting constitutional rights and due process for all of our Milwaukee County residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisors? Vice Chair Vincent.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Thank you, Supervisor O'Connor, as well. I've done some homework over the last week as this item came before us. I wanted to learn more just about what's even going on here. Heard from one of my residents earlier today who is Palestinian, in particular how this has placed kind of a negative light on the Palestinian community in general, and obviously she is in support of this resolution, and as her supervisor, I'm going to speak today in support of this resolution as well. I do not know Mr. Sarsour, I'm sorry, tongue twister there. To me, this is an issue is not about just asking anyone to ignore the law or excuse wrongdoing. It is about whether our community believes that constitutional protections, due process, and equal treatment under the law should apply to everyone, including lawful permanent residents who have lived peacefully in our communities for decades. Mr. Sarsour has lived in Wisconsin for more than 30 years. He's raised a family here, and he served as a religious and community leader. The allegations being raised involve decades-old matters that the federal government reportedly knew about a long time ago. If the government believes there is credible evidence of wrongdoing, that evidence should be presented openly and fairly in a court. What concerns many people in our community is the appearance that immigration enforcement may be used in a politically selective way, particularly against outspoken advocates connected to the Palestinian causes. Regardless of where we stand politically, we should all be concerned when enforcement actions appear inconsistent, opaque, or lacking in transparency. Supporting this resolution does not require anyone to prejudge the legal case or declare Mr. Sarsour innocent of every allegation. It simply means affirming that due process, fairness, and civil liberties matter, especially in difficult and politically charged moments. Our community is strongest when we defend both public safety and constitutional rights at the same time. For these reasons, I do support this resolution, and I'm asking for unanimous consent to be added as co-sponsor. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Shea.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I too ask unanimous consent to be added as a co-sponsor. And I can't help but notice the administration's excuse for this arrest without due process. It says, Mr. Sarsour poses an adverse consequence to foreign policy considerations. Anyone with a lick of sense knows that's bureaucratic speak for, well, we don't have anything to charge him with, but we're going to arrest him anyway. So I support this resolution. I make a motion for its approval, and Oh, I already did ask unanimous consent. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other supervisors? Supervisor Levin, Roundtree Jr. I can't say your whole name. I have to say the whole thing. I don't know.
It's okay.
Supervisor Roundtree Jr.
Thank you, Chairwoman, and thank you for the work that you're doing. Excuse me, on this, and to every other supervisor. I too have done my research over the past couple of days, just getting more aware of what's actually going on with this case. And quite frankly, I do want to ask for unanimous consent to be added as a co-sponsor, but I also want to speak briefly to how this is shaping up to be the America that we're all living in, and I don't want to see that happen to Milwaukee County. I'm pretty sure most of us here don't want to see that happen to Milwaukee County, so I'm going to ask that everybody that can hear me be a part of the work of making sure that you understand injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, and make sure that we're doing what we need to do to stop the tyranny in this country and specifically our county. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Johnson Jr.
Thank you, Chairwoman Gomez. I ask unanimous consent to be added as a co-sponsor, and I believe that Mr. Saussure is being targeted because he is a respected leader in the community and happens to be the leader of the Islamic Society of Milwaukee, and I think that's why he's targeted. So I am in support of the resolution, and I wish that the authoritarian leanings of this federal administration were placed among themselves and stay among themselves. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Supervisor. And then I would like to recognize Supervisor Ekblad.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I'd like to thank my colleagues for their work on this resolution. The Islamic Society of Milwaukee is in District 4, and I wish this was the first instance of state-sponsored Islamophobia in my lifetime, but as we all know, it is not. It is merely a dramatic escalation. I deeply appreciate that this resolution calls attention to that. Mr. Saussure should be released immediately, and I would ask unanimous consent to be added as a co-sponsor.
Thank you, Supervisor. And then, Mr. Coordinator, I will, as the author of this resolution, recognize Supervisor Johnson Jr., Vice Chair Vincent, Supervisor Shea, Supervisor Roundtree Jr., and then Supervisor Ekblad to be added by unanimous consent. All right. Any other supervisors online? I think folks are already co-authors. Okay. So then we'll go to public comment, and I will ask Ms. Fauzia Qureshi to come on. Thank you.
Someone else that wants to speak after me, if that's, I have his card. Okay. Yeah, he filled it.
Okay, perfect. Sorry. Thank you.
Good afternoon, distinguished Chair Gomez-Tom, Vice Chair Vincent, and supervisors of the Intergovernmental Relations Committee. My name is Fauzia Qureshi. I'm the Executive Director of the Wisconsin Muslim Civic Alliance. I'm here in support of resolution file number 26447, which condemns the detention of community leader Salah Sarsour and demands his immediate release from federal custody. Brother Salah is not a statistic. He is our neighbor. He is our community leader. He is our friend. He is our brother. He has been a lawful permanent resident. I'm sorry, I'm a little emotional. He runs a business here in Milwaukee. He cares for his aging mother. He cares for his 6 children and 10 grandchildren, all American citizens. They've had to wake up every single day without their father, without their grandfather. That is not an immigration case. That is a family torn apart. He was detained on March 30th while going about his daily life in Milwaukee. He has not been charged with a crime. He's being held hundreds of miles away in Indiana, causing devastating hardship to his family and removing a vital leader from our community. His attorneys have filed a writ of habeas corpus, challenging the constitutionality of this detention. Milwaukee is not silent. The Milwaukee Common Council voted unanimously to condemn this detention. We all appreciate that. And Senator Tammy Baldwin has also demanded answers. Today, this committee has the opportunity to add Milwaukee County's voice to that chorus. This resolution affirms what this county stands for, which is due process for every resident, regardless of faith or national origin. Brother Salah's family cannot afford to wait. We are asking this committee to recommend this resolution unanimously today. Pass. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'll ask Adele Sarsour. Thank you so much for being here.
Good afternoon, and thank you to everyone supporting this resolution. My father, Salah Sarsour, has been a legal resident of this country for over 32 years. He has no criminal record and always respected the law. On March 30th, he was kidnapped by DHS from the middle of the road, handcuffed, transferred to Illinois, and then later moved to an underground jail in Brazil, Indiana. For almost 2 months, my father has faced humiliation at the hands of ICE. He has not seen the sun since March 30th, as he's held underground. He has been denied proper medical care. He's diabetic. A few days ago, he suffered food poisoning and was refused proper medication. My father has always been a strong advocate for human rights. He spoke out against the genocide, starvation, and occupation that the Palestinians are facing. He exercised his First Amendment rights. For that reason, he was targeted. It felt like our American values were taken with him, the values of freedom, justice, and the rights to speak out. My father is a husband, he's a father, he's a grandfather, and an uncle. He is the president of one of the largest Muslim communities in Wisconsin, a property owner and a business owner. And we will continue demanding justice and demanding his release. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sarsour. Before we take this to a vote, I just want to acknowledge the bravery to come and speak on behalf of your father. And I introduced this resolution as a way to stand in solidarity with him and ask for his immediate release. What we're seeing in our country at this time is an attack on our immigrant community, and it's unconscionable. As someone who is the daughter of Mexican immigrants, unfortunately, originally undocumented immigrants, but were lawfully present. My mom became a citizen, and they're no longer with us. And I regularly think about, if they were still here, the added stress that I feel like I would be going through, thinking about what risks my family would be in. And so I can't even imagine what you're feeling right now. And so I just want to acknowledge that I'm standing here in support for you and your family, and I hope that this body will do the same. So with that, we'll take it to a vote.
On the motion by Supervisor Shea that item number 4 be recommended for adoption, Supervisors Vincent,
Aye.
Johnson Jr.,
Aye.
Shea,
Aye.
Roundtree Jr.,
Aye.
Madam Chairwoman.
Aye.
5 ayes, 0 noes, the motion prevails.
All right, thank you. Okay, so we still have a few items. We have gone through quite a bit of heavy lifting, and so I'm hoping that we can make the remaining part of our agenda more efficient, since we only have about 21 minutes before we have to end today. So with that, we'll take item 8 next.
Item 8, a resolution by Supervisors Ekblad, Rolland, Martinez, Shea, Martin, Gomez-Tom, and Capriolo, expressing solidarity with the residents of Hennepin and Ramsey counties in Minnesota and encouraging the people of Milwaukee County to uphold the rights protected by the U.S. Constitution.
All right, Supervisor Ekblad.
Thank you so much, Madam Chairwoman. I really appreciate the committee's time today, and I'll keep this very brief out of respect for that time. We had intended to bring this resolution forward in March, and I think the timing now is actually maybe a little bit better, ironically, because right now the administration in Washington is wanting to pretend that Minnesota and their actions around the country and in Hennepin County never happened. They would rather never hear the name Pretty and Good ever again. But I think it's important to acknowledge that we remember. My father-in-law actually works in a building 2 blocks away from where Alex Pretty was executed. And I want to commend especially the activists around the country who are documenting this violence in real time, because I think it's critical. The reason why we remember Alex Pretty the way we do is because activists documented his execution faster than the administration could lie about it. And I want to hold that up as an example. I want to stand with every community around the country that experienced the exact same violence. And I'm deeply grateful for my colleagues' work on this. And I would ask that the committee pass this unanimously.
Thank you, Supervisor. And then I'll recognize Supervisor O'Connor.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to ask to please be added by unanimous consent, and I'm requesting permission of the author. Thank you.
All right, Supervisor, Vice Chair Vincent.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Thank you, Supervisor Ekblad, for bringing us this before us. This goes back to our previous resolution, in my opinion, that where it says right here that we encourage the people of Milwaukee County to uphold the rights protected by the U.S. Constitution. I believe firmly that all citizens have those rights, and for that reason, I'm going to ask for unanimous consent to be added as a co-sponsor, and I'd also like to move for approval.
Supervisor Johnson Jr.
Thank you, Chairwoman Gomez-Tom. I will ask unanimous consent to be added as a co-sponsor. Chief Sponsor Ekblad. I am asking for unanimous consent to be added as a co-sponsor because I believe that, as I said, as I alluded to earlier, with respect to authoritarianism, with respect to it reminds me of Senator, the senator from Arizona saying that an illegal order is an illegal order. I mean, if you're told to do something or you think that you're by doing something which you know the cameras are around you and you do something that you shouldn't be doing, then that's poor taste. With respect to your part, you're not only violating your services rules and regulations, you're actually breaking the law. So so I ask unanimous consent to be added as a co-sponsor, and thank you very much, Chairwoman Gomez-Tom.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Roundtree Jr.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Supervisor Ekblad, I just want to ask for unanimous consent to be added as a co-sponsor.
Thank you. All right.
And Madam Chair, I believe there is an amendment attached to this item on the agenda. Is that correct?
Yes.
I would be grateful to introduce that amendment and introduce this resolution to be passed as amended.
All right. And would you just mind stating what the amendment was? I know it is mine, and then you did sign on to it. So if you could just address it, please.
I believe it adds the language and other U.S. counties that have reported unconstitutional action towards their communities, including but not limited to free speech, due process, and the freedom of unlawful search and seizure.
Thank you so much, Supervisor. Just wanting to acknowledge all of the jurisdictions that also face some of these issues and all of the bravery that those folks took on as well alongside Minnesota. All right.
And I was deeply grateful for the amendment. Thank you very much, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you. All right, we'll take that to a vote then. Or I'm sorry, do you need an official verbal acceptance of the?
Madam Chairwoman, two things. First, I would need the primary sponsor to just state on the record the co-sponsors that he would like to add to this item. And secondly, there was no motion to amend, so I would need a committee member, if that is the will of the committee, to make that motion.
Thank you. Well,
I'd like to acknowledge Supervisors O'Connor, Johnson Jr., Roundtree, and Vincent. Did I get all of them?
Yes.
Thank you.
I think did you want to make the motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I will make the motion to amend this particular resolution.
And Madam Chairwoman, that would take precedence over the previous motion to recommend for adoption without amending. If the committee chooses to amend this item, then that would render that previous motion moot.
Okay, that's good.
All right, so then we'll take the vote on the amendment to be added.
On the motion by Supervisor Vincent that item number 8 be amended with IGR Amendment 1, Supervisors Vincent,
Aye.
Johnson Jr.,
Aye.
Shea,
Aye.
Roundtree Jr.,
Aye.
Madam Chairwoman.
Aye.
5 ayes, 0 noes, the motion prevails.
All right, and then I believe I will need a motion, Supervisor Roundtree.
I would like to make a motion to approve
Yep.
As amended.
As amended.
as amended.
Wonderful.
I would like to make a motion to approve as amended.
Fantastic.
On the motion by Supervisor Roundtree Jr. that item number 8 be recommended for adoption as amended, Supervisors Vincent,
Aye.
Johnson Jr.,
Aye.
Shea,
Aye.
Roundtree Jr.,
Aye.
Madam Chairwoman.
Aye.
5 ayes, 0 noes, the motion prevails.
All right, thank you, Supervisor Eklund. Okay, we'll go to item number 5. How are we doing? We can make it. We can do it.
Item 5, a resolution urging the Governor of Wisconsin and the state legislature to enact a comprehensive, sustainable transportation and transit funding solution. This resolution is by Supervisor Rowland.
Supervisor Allen.
I'm muted. Sorry about that. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll be brief. I'm really pumped that I am not in the part of Upper Michigan yet where the Wi-Fi starts to fail. So very excited about that, which brings me to the point of this resolution. If infrastructure is bad, things start to get messed up. Society starts to fall apart, which the point of this resolution was brought to us by the Wisconsin Counties Association. They are trying to rally counties to advocate together for transportation to fix our roads, our streets. Local municipalities and counties are accountable for the vast majority of that work. So what this resolution asks for is the funding to make that happen. So our local roads are kept up. What this also tacks on is what our county board has asked for a long time, is to make sure that our bus system is also funded, and not just our bus system, but bus systems across the state are adequately funded with the money they need to get people where they need to go. So without further ado, hoping to get your approval today and happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Supervisor. Other committee members? Vice Chair Vincent?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Thank you, Supervisor Rowland. This is an extremely important resolution, as we've been grappling in Milwaukee County for months now, even years, with our transportation issues. I would like to ask your unanimous consent to be added as a co-sponsor. I'd also like to move this for approval.
Thank you. Supervisor Shea?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And as the Chair of the Committee on Transportation and Transit of the Milwaukee County Board, I too would like to ask unanimous consent to be added as a co-sponsor.
Thank you. Supervisor Roundtree Jr.?
I just would like to ask Supervisor Rowland for unanimous consent to be added as a co-sponsor. Thank you,
Fantastic.
Madam Chairwoman.
Supervisor Johnson Jr.?
Chairwoman Gomez-Tom, I would ask unanimous consent to be added as a co-sponsor. Would ask, and I will ask Supervisor Rowland, the chief sponsor, if I may be added as a co-sponsor.
All right, thank you. Supervisor Ann O'Connor?
You know what I'm going to say? I would also like to be added as co-sponsor, please. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Mr. Coordinator, I too would like to be added unanimously, by unanimous consent as a co-sponsor. Supervisor Rowland, would you like to acknowledge?
I formally make it happen.
Excellent. Does he need to repeat all of the names?
If, Madam Chair, if you could just confirm that he would like them in the order in which the requests were made. For the record, I can make sure that that happens.
That's fine.
Awesome, thank you. All right, and then we'll take it to a vote because there is a motion on the table.
On the motion by Supervisor Vincent that item number 5 be recommended for adoption, Supervisors Vincent,
Aye.
Johnson Jr.
Aye.
Shea,
Aye.
Roundtree Jr.
Aye.
Madam Chairwoman.
Aye.
5 ayes, 0 noes, the motion prevails.
All right, thank you very much, Supervisor Elland. All right, then we'll go to item 6.
Item 6, a resolution to safeguard constitutional rights and ensure equal application of the law through responsible local governance and equitable federal funding. This resolution is sponsored by Supervisors O'Connor, Martinez, Gomez-Tom, Belinsky, and Capriolo.
All right, Supervisor O'Connor.
Thank you, Chairwoman. This was a resolution that we had hoped to bring in front of the committee when we had the snowstorm back in April, I guess it was, that canceled IGR. So glad to see it here now. Still as timely as ever, though, as I had the opportunity this week to meet with leadership from all across the country who are really concerned about the federal government and violation of our constitutional rights. So this resolution is sort of a riff on a lot of the things we've heard in committee today. If I had to categorize it simply, it would be it's about federal underfunding and federal overreach. Problems that we're seeing here in Milwaukee County that are affecting our ability to deliver services in a stable and predictable way. We heard Director Rowlett speak about the denial of flooding funding, flood relief, and then in finance yesterday we heard a lot about the uncertainties and grants being flat this past year at the federal level, and how problematic that is for us to be able to predict how to deliver Milwaukee County services moving ahead. That combined with what we're seeing as violation of Fourth Amendment rights, unlawful searches, seizures of individuals. So this resolution really just sort of takes a stand on those numerous counts so that we are calling out and naming what is happening in this moment, and that we are documenting it and formalizing our recognition that what is happening is not okay with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Johnson Jr.
Thank you, Chairwoman Gomez-Tom. I move to adopt the resolution and ask the unanimous consent to be added as a co-sponsor.
Thank you. Vice Chair Vincent.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I too would like to ask for unanimous consent, I'm having trouble with that word today, from the author of this to be added as a co-sponsor. Thank you.
All right.
Madam Chair, I too ask unanimous consent, and the saddest part of all is the idea that we even need to pass a resolution like this, but we do. So I ask unanimous consent to be added as a co-sponsor. Supervisor O'Connor.
Supervisor Roundtree Jr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Supervisor O'Connor, I ask to be added as a co-sponsor with unanimous consent as well.
All right, and Supervisor O'Connor, would you like to recognize those co-sponsors?
Thank you, Chairwoman. I would, and I will read it back in the order they were read. So I would like to acknowledge Supervisor Johnson Jr., Vincent, Shea, and Roundtree Jr. as additional co-sponsors. And thank you for your co-sponsorship.
Wonderful. And then with that motion, we'll take a vote.
On the motion by Supervisor Johnson Jr. that item number 6 be recommended for adoption, Supervisors Vincent.
Aye.
Johnson Jr.
Aye.
Shea.
Aye.
Roundtree Jr.
Aye.
Madam Chairwoman.
Aye.
5 ayes, 0 noes, the motion prevails.
All right, and then we'll go to item 7.
Item 7, a resolution/ordinance amending Appendix C traffic laws of the Milwaukee County Code of General Ordinances to create Section 23, Sub 1, impoundment of vehicles used in reckless driving offenses as authorized in Wisconsin State Statutes, Section 349.115, This file was referred to the Committees on Judiciary, Law Enforcement, and General Services, as well as the Committee on Intergovernmental Relations. The Committee on Judiciary, Law Enforcement, and General Services, at their March meeting, recommended it for adoption. At the County Board meeting of March 19th, 2026, this file was referred back to the Committee on Intergovernmental Relations by the County Board.
Supervisor Jensen Jr.
Thank you, Chairwoman Gomez. Milwaukee County has adopted a Vision Zero goal to eliminate traffic accidents and serious injuries. We've had Milwaukee County Comprehensive Safety Action Plan as a framework for addressing these safety issues. And because of reckless driving, a lot of innocent people have been hurt. Some people have been killed. And this resolution will amend Appendix C of the traffic laws of the Milwaukee County Code of General Ordinances to create Section 23 Sub 1 for the impoundment of vehicles used in reckless driving offenses as authorized as of last year, Wisconsin Statutes Section 349.115. I move to adopt the resolution and ordinance change.
All right, thank you, Supervisor. And the Sheriff Department would like to address this item.
Yes, Madam Chair and board members. I'm Inspector Doug Holden from the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office. I oversee our Patrol Bureau, Police Services Bureau rather, our Patrol Division, our Airport Division, and our Summer Parks Unit. As we all know and have seen throughout the county, we have a systematic issue with reckless driving. It is not only in the city, it's countywide. We have hundreds and hundreds of complaints from citizens, several on a daily basis, of reported reckless driving on the freeway. Not only on our freeway system, but in our parks as well. I've received plenty of complaints and still do about reckless driving inside our parks. This specific ordinance, if passed, would allow our officers the discretion to tow vehicles for reckless driving. Oftentimes, when we do stop vehicles for reckless driving, we see that the driving records of those operating the vehicles are suspended or they didn't have a license to begin with. The reason for suspensions oftentimes is that they're not paying their fines. So by simply writing them a ticket, we know that there's a good chance they're not going to pay that ticket. And they're just going to go off in that vehicle and they're going to do it again. This opportunity gives us a way to tow the vehicle. And once it's towed, they have to pay all associated fees and fines of anything that is outstanding on their driving record. That forces them to have to do that in order to retrieve their vehicle. If the vehicle is not within 90 days, the county can dispose of that vehicle. The statute also explicitly states that an officer and an agency must, if the vehicle is stolen, must find the owner of that vehicle to give that vehicle back so they can come pick up that vehicle. No associated fines. We do not fine them for tows, fees, anything like that. We do not victimize people twice. I will give you some very brief data. Currently, we have about 156 complaints of reckless driving this year. 35 of them have led to arrests for operating while intoxicated. 22 of them have led to brief vehicle pursuits. 10 have led to accidents where somebody was arrested for operating while intoxicated. 10 were property damage only. 10 were summary arrests, meaning they had other associated charges besides the reckless driving. 6 were road rage incidents, and 4 were accidents with injuries. So these are serious incidents that not only do we see reckless driving, but we see other things going on that is started by the reckless driving, whether it's an OWI or whether it's an accident or an arrest. The Milwaukee Police Department, who enacted their ordinance several months ago, came out with some data about 120 days after the ordinance was passed. In those 120 days, they towed 100 vehicles. They netted fees of about $18,000, payments of about close to $3,000. 2 vehicles were recycled, and 24 unregistered vehicles had to be registered prior to their release. In other words, about a quarter of those vehicles weren't even registered to be on the street. None of those vehicles were stolen. Now, I know there are some concerns about individuals who may borrow a vehicle to somebody unknowingly. For example, maybe grandma lets her grandson take the vehicle and he gets stopped for reckless driving. The officers still have that broad discretion where if they find that out and there's, let's say, an innocent victim or somebody innocent, they do not have to tow that vehicle. It is not a must or a shall. It is allowing us to. But I will say those are extremely rare occurrences. Most of the drivers we stop are the registered owners of the vehicle. With that, I mean, the point of this ordinance is to reduce this behavior that we see and to hold people accountable. And simply writing them tickets over and over again is just not working. I will say that oftentimes when we write someone a ticket, we know they're not going to pay it. It's when you tow their vehicle, that's when they complain. That's when they have issues because then you're working with their livelihood. So that is causing them to try to change that behavior, to say, if you're going to have your registered vehicle out there and you're going to drive recklessly, there's going to be consequences, plain and simple. With that, I'll turn it over to the Chief Deputy if he has anything to add. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Supervisors, thank you. Just to add, I know that there was concern that was brought up at J-Legs about, the idea, like, let's say grandma lets grandson use the vehicle. I would point to the section in the actual statute, which is, or the ordinance, which is under 23 sub 2 sub B, that says reasonable cost of impounding the vehicle, including towing or other transportation costs, storage costs, and any other administrative fees may be charged to the owner of the vehicle to the extent permitted under statute 349.115. So our policy and procedure already takes into account if a vehicle is stolen, we make every reasonable attempt to return the vehicle to the owner. Even if we're not able to make contact with the owner at the time and we have to tow the vehicle, we will work with Milwaukee County DOT to waive those fees. That's something that we already currently do. It's something that we would continue to do. And in the case of grandson using grandma's vehicle, those would be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. And if that is in fact the case, we would do the same thing as far as whether we even tow it. But if that was the case, we would waive those fees. I would also like to just point out that at the state level, this did have bipartisan support in passing, and the Milwaukee County Common Council did pass this unanimously, my recollection, 15-0. So with that, we're happy to take any questions, but I would appreciate your support on this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair, Vice Chair Vincent.
Okay.
I know, I'm
You can
trying.
call me whatever. All right. Thank you for this presentation today. I want to thank the author, Supervisor Johnson Jr. for this as well. Thank you for that clarification too about not re-victimizing the victims. As someone who lives by a neighbor whose car was stolen twice and involved in these kind of things, like that's traumatic enough for someone that they don't need to have that. So I do appreciate that there's the realistic approach to this, that you really are going after the people that are committing the crime, not someone that was a victim to a crime. So thank you for that. This may or may not be super related to today, but I just sent something to Sheriff Danita Ball the other day about these motorbikes that are also coming around, some e-bikes as well. There's issues with those. Will this entail those kind of, we're seeing an uptick even in my neighborhood. I was backing out of my drive a couple weeks ago and some kids that really shouldn't even be riding these things are riding on them, and parents are allowing kids to be on these. Those are extremely dangerous too. Is that something that you are seeing an issue with county-wide, and is this something that will be included with the confiscation of those items?
Yeah, Madam Chair, Supervisors, great question. I mean, really, this county ordinance change is to address the illegal street takeovers and the reckless driving associated with these street takeovers. We're coming on to warmer weather. As Inspector Holton mentioned, with the warmer weather comes the increased complaints. Just earlier this week down at the lakefront, there were approximately 200 motorcycles, ATVs, and vehicles that engaged in, reckless driving behavior. If you recall, I believe it was a couple weeks back, the city of Milwaukee was impacted. Many neighborhoods were impacted by the reckless, what they call street takeovers, where they are actually lighting intersections on fires, what they call pits, and then they're doing this like drifting in the intersection. It's not only dangerous to the motoring public, it's also dangerous to the spectators. I can tell you, since I've been sitting here waiting to speak, I've received 3 emails about these illegal street takeovers, potentially occurring, this weekend and throughout the Memorial Day weekend. And as Inspector Holton mentioned, it just doesn't impact the city of Milwaukee. It impacts every county, to include our county parks that have suffered tens of thousands of dollars worth of damage as a result of this behavior.
Follow up. So thank you. And so to clarify then, will those kind of vehicles also be confiscated in this? They will. Yes. And I want to thank you. The Sheriff's Department's been very helpful. I have a friends group in Wedgewood Park, and there have been individuals on these ATVs. My understanding was, too, that the DNR has some role to play in that. Is that true? I know there has to be licensing for them. A lot of parents are buying these things for their kids, and they're not helmeting them, and then they're doing very dangerous things. They're driving through parks, they're driving on roads. It's something that does concern me, and I didn't want to be that neighbor that called in my neighbor's kids the other day, but I was concerned that they were going to kill themselves. They were going 60 miles an hour down a frontage road. But the ATVs, do those have some DNR oversight as well?
Madam Chair, Supervisors, yes, there is a subsection within state statute that the DNR can enforce, but every law enforcement officer, those vehicles have to be what's considered street legal. So they have to have headlights, they have to have working turn signals. There's a plethora of items that these vehicles have to have in order for them to be quote unquote street legal. So while the DNR can and does enforce that, I believe it's traffic code 350 or 305. It's been a while since I've been out there, and I had that I wrote a ticket, but any law enforcement officer can enforce those ordinances.
And your staff has been wonderful with that. If I could, I would move approval of this resolution. Oh, he wanted to do that. Okay. Oh, he did. Never mind.
All right, Supervisor Shea.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 2 years ago, my car was totaled by somebody running a red. And, it's not just downtown, it's not just certain neighborhoods, it's everywhere. On my way to this meeting today, I had 2 cars pass me going approximately double the speed limit. So this is a very serious problem, and I ask unanimous consent to be added as a co-sponsor.
All right, thank you very much. I'll just acknowledge, thank you very much for, I think it was one of my questions regarding family members. So I appreciate hearing that it would be looked at as case-by-case basis, just knowing that, there may be challenges that the car owner wouldn't want to report their own family member as that they stole their vehicle rather than they were using it and then they were using it in this behavior. So I appreciate that at least being considered. So thank you. Let's take that to a vote.
On the motion by Supervisor Johnson Jr. that item number 7 be recommended for adoption. Sorry.
Chairwoman Gomez.
Oh, yes, Supervisor Johnson Jr.
Mr. Masirik, I recognize that
Oh, thank you.
one of the supervisors asked, Supervisor Shea asked. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Chairwoman Gomez-Tom, Coordinator Masirik, Supervisor Shea asked unanimous consent to be added as a co-sponsor, and I give permission for such.
All right, now we'll take it to a roll.
Now, on the motion by Supervisor Johnson Jr. that item number 7 be recommended for adoption, Supervisors Vincent?
Aye.
Johnson Jr.?
Aye.
Shea?
Aye.
Roundtree Jr.?
Aye.
Madam Chairwoman?
Aye.
5 ayes, 0 noes, the motion prevails.
All right, thank you. All right, we will take number 11, item 11.
Item 11, from the Office of Government Affairs, providing an informational report regarding legislative updates. This item is informational only unless otherwise directed by the committee.
Last but not least.
That's right. Madam Chairwoman, members, Katie Domina, Director, Office of Government Affairs.
Jamie Kuhn with Foley and Lardner.
And I know we're the last thing standing between you and a long weekend, so we will be brief. You have a report on file that provides a little bit of a retrospective of the last legislative session. I won't dive sort of specifically in that. There's a chart that talks about the bills that were registered on and the disposition of those bills. Happy to answer any specific questions there. Just a couple of discrete updates. So the report was submitted in April. Since then, there has been a little bit of movement just on the surplus spending. As I'm sure folks saw last week, there was a bill, a special session bill introduced and ultimately did not make its way through the legislature. We'll provide a more full sort of accounting of that in the June report, but just wanted to flag that the information in this May report is a little bit dated in that section. And then the second section where there has been a little bit of update is in the congressionally directed spending portion. As I noted in the May report, Congresswoman Moore advanced 2 projects on behalf of Milwaukee County for consideration, $2.5 million for a community violence initiative project, and then again $2.5 million for an underground fuel tanks project. The House Appropriations Committee has considered both of those items. It reduced the community violence initiative project to $772,000, but retained the project in the appropriations process and reduced the underground fuel tanks project to $500,000. So again, a reduction, but it still remains in the appropriations process. And then Senator Tammy Baldwin did advance $6 million for affordable housing financing and construction on behalf of DHHS. The Senate Appropriations Committee has not met yet, so we'll keep an eye on that as things move along. And then the last thing I wanted to draw your attention to is included in the May report is a new thing for this committee, which is an annual policy report. This report is an attempt to really put data and metrics to the policy work that my office is doing in conjunction with Jeremy Lucas, who's here today, and Nikki Todd, who's also here today, just trying to account for the work that the three of us are doing as a part of sort of a policy hub, and then accounting the work of the policy strategy team, which really relies on representatives from each of the departments to feed into the work we're doing. And special thanks to Nikki for really putting that report together. As I said, I'll be brief, happy to answer any questions, and I'll turn it over to Jamie to see if she has anything to add.
I just wanted to reintroduce myself because some of you are new to this committee, but Jamie Kuhn, I'm with Foley and Lardner and you all have retained me as your lobbyist specifically for the board. So I think one of the things that we did in the previous session is really just make sure that all of us have an opportunity to get together and chat about your priorities so that Katie and I can keep an eye out for the things that you care about and what's happening, not only on the state level, but how that intersects with the work that you all are doing here. I think the important thing is this is sort of while this is the summer and a little bit of a break for the legislature, as you know, and many of you are friends with all of them, they are back in their districts, so it's a really great opportunity to be meeting with them and talking with them about our priorities as we go into the next session. This is kind of the time where, while they are conversations, it is helpful to sort of feed into the legislature some ideas and things we want to work on. I think obviously we all share the same idea that we're really going to push hard on transportation. And so at every turn, that is what we are prioritizing in regard to our time. So if it seems redundant, it is, and that is on purpose. Because legislators, just like you all, need to hear from their constituencies on a regular basis about what the priorities are. And so we will continue to beat that drum all of the time throughout the summer and into the fall as the administration, I think, as well as the legislators that are returning and the new ones come back and start talking about our next budget process, which really starts this summer for the administration. And then a new governor will come in next year and will introduce a budget in February, maybe March, depending on how that all goes. So we are really, really, really working hard to, again, you'll hear it from us all the time, so I don't want it to get stale, but it is really the truth that we are really pushing hard on transportation and transit, and that will be the focus of our work this summer and fall.
Wonderful. Any questions or comments? Vice Chair Vincent.
You'll get it.
I know.
You'll get it. All right. First of all, it's late in the afternoon. I'm going to thank all four of you, Jeremy, Nikki, Katie, and Jamie, for sticking with us this afternoon. It's been a while since I've been on the IGR committee. That was my first term. So if you could just refresh, do we have opportunities? We can sit down with you if we have priorities. Are there opportunities ever where supervisors can be part of, going to Madison with you and joining you for this lobbying? I know there's testifying and so forth. Especially as a member of this committee, I would love to be more actively engaged that way. And so if that is something that you're open to, I just wanted to say I'm open to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are going to be occasions where it's sort of pre-planned, right? We also do, many of your colleagues also are connected through the counties association. So they have specific lobby days. There are also sometimes issue days, right? If there's an issue that you really care about and it's kind of coming to the forefront and there's something going on, we obviously can make sure that we're connecting on that. But I would say that a lot of times, too, it is more effective to talk to legislators in the district. As you know, being one. So we're willing to help you however that makes sense. And I would suggest that, it doesn't have to just be centered around a specific thing that is coming up. There can be questions because obviously the administration is continuing to run government as we speak. So you get constituent calls as well. And it's always appropriate for you to connect with us and let us know if there's something going on. Let us know if there's something we can do to call the state on your behalf. And connect at any time. And we also can, there are times when state legislators are doing stuff in your districts, which generally speaking, I presume that some of you are finding out about, but sometimes there's so much of it that you may not, and we can always check on stuff like that for you.
Follow-up. So, and also on that note, so first of all, thank you for your work. I actually serve on a school board as well, and it wasn't really until I became an elected official that I really saw the importance of lobbying as much as we need to. Our public schools need it, our transit needs it, our mental health needs it. So I do greatly appreciate the work you do. I was told I should be a lobbyist at one point in my life just because I've been fighting for many of these causes. But I wanted to ask if we did have resolutions that went to Madison in previous cycles, do they just automatically die if they don't come up in that cycle, or are they there? Because I have one resident who's probably 88 now, he was 85 at the time. There was a resolution, he was looking for fishing licenses, for instance. Do those actually die out after a cycle, or do we have, and I know that's not a high priority necessarily to everyone, but to that constituent it was, for seniors to have free fishing licenses. And I've really never heard much from that since that time.
And I can absolutely check on that. My gut instinct suggests that there are some advantages to seniors in that situation, so we can just look that up.
Okay.
But what I would say is that just like you all, you have resolutions at the beginning of the session all the way through the session, and once the session is over, the slate is cleaned. So right now, they did adjourn, and they adjourned, which means many of the resolutions are done. There is, and this doesn't happen often, but there is always the possibility that something could come back in November and December after the election, if they wanted to before the next session. But likely that would be something that they would bring forward and not reopen one that's already been closed. So the session is going to be over. The session is sort of over already. It will be over for sure as of January 5th, and we will start all over with the, what year is it? 2027, 2029 session. So similar to you, it will go for 2 years, and then it will start over again. So we can always check on bills as they come through, but if they haven't, that is it's a good conversation to have offline.
Right.
If there's something that a law that hasn't been changed that someone is interested in, and just see, because generally speaking, there are people who are already working on it, and they're not necessarily always the need to do something new. It may just be that someone already is planning on reintroducing it again the next session.
Thank you.
Just to add on that, I think if the question is particular to the resolutions that the county board is passing, there is an ability for us to sort of carry over that theme, and for Jamie in particular to carry over the will of the board into a subsequent legislative session. And we can talk more about that offline, just in terms of how the formal registration process works, in terms of the prior resolutions that this board has passed.
Do we have a book of all of our resolutions that we're currently working on? Is there a place where you as a supervisor, or we as a supervisor, could go and just look at that?
The resolutions that the county board has passed?
Yeah, is it online, I'm guessing? No?
I don't think it's in one place. I think it's through
I think
Click.
you just have to search by an issue area and figure out which one was passed last.
Okay, thank you, I'm done.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, hearing none. I will just say, and thank you for all of your updates. The Wisconsin Counties Association, their annual conference, they're going to be opening registration starting on June 1. So if supervisors are interested, they should reach out to their legislative assistant to attend said conference. And then there's always the legislative conference that they have in February. So September and February are the big ones. So, all right. Thank you so much. We'll go to item 12.
Thank you.
Item 12, e-comments submitted to the Committee on Intergovernmental Relations via the County Legislative Information Center Click.
I think we have one, correct?
We did have one as of this afternoon, and I will just say it was in support of item 3, the cooperative relation with the city-county task force.
Wonderful. And those will also get added to the minutes. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for a very successful, very robust conversation and first Committee of Intergovernmental Relations back for the 2026-2028 cycle. And typically these won't be as long, I promise. We had to pack 2 full meetings into one because of the weather storm that we had. I don't remember if it was snow or rain or tornadoes. I think it was maybe all of the above. So yeah, normally they're not this packed, and normally we're a little more efficient, but we got through a lot today. So thank you all. Oh, yes, thank you. And for everyone in the building, please exit the 9th Street exit. Since we went over, that's the only exit that will be offered for folks that are leaving. Thank you.
You said 9th Street?